Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 35. And I'm here at the table with Manny Albin, Damon Lowney, and of course, Robert. Thank you so much for being behind the scenes and making all this work. Man, we've got a lot to talk about, but really, I want to talk about Damon's mood. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I thought I was in a bad mood because I got to get blood work done at 12:45, which means I haven't been able to eat now for like 14 hours. Yeah. So I think my wife did it to me on purpose, but now that I got distracted by Damon's problems.
I know you don't seem hangry.
Yeah, I mean it's not a huge problem or anything that can't be gotten over, but 4-month-old cat and cat needs surgery, and I'm just seeing the dollar signs right now.
I'm seeing less autocross mods.
Yeah, I know.
I think I hear a quake differential leaving the room.
Yeah,
I know, right? Or no more guard. I'm going to the quake to save a bit of money. That's not.
We've all been there, my friend. We had
Just remember, a cat has two eyes. It really needs one.
Well, I mean, that's actually the question right now. Do you remove the eye, or do you try and fix it, knowing the eye might have problems? I think glaucoma.
So what's the name of the cat?
Pierogi.
Pierogi.
Yeah.
Well, you could just call it Patch now.
Yeah, it could be Patch. She'd, that would fit.
We had a Shih Tzu that when we adopted it, it had like a heart symbol, meaning it has health issues.
Yep.
And we thought it.
Yeah, remember Katie?
Katie. Yeah, and Katie was blind in one eye, so we thought. So of course we do all the adoption papers, and then we go for a health checkup. And I'm like, yeah, doctor, will she live a good life with just one eye? I hear dogs can adapt and stuff like that. And the vet goes, yeah, no, Katie is blind in both eyes. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, she'll still be okay. And then, of course, we go to the dog eye care facility, which really is like a printing machine, because they said your dog can't see. Give it a couple of drops.
You went to the dog eye care facility?
Yes.
There's an eye care facility
dog
for dogs?
optometrist?
Yes, it was a
Did
dog.
they have an eye chart?
Well, here's the thing: is they just kept taking my money for I think what was saline solution, and they're like, you have to use it every day and keep the eye moist.
Yeah, I'm sure that was easy to do.
Yeah. So Katie did live a good 5 years. She was an elder dog when we adopted her. Mm-hmm. She lived a good 5 years, and so
I remember every once in a while she'd be lumbering around the office.
Yes,
once or twice every quarter, or something.
Running into things.
Yeah, running into
like
things.
a Roomba.
Yeah, exactly. Only she can't see the stuff on the ground to eat it, right?
Yeah. Oh well, not to make fun of your bad mood, but hopefully you can chuckle now that we talked about
it's
it.
the dollar signs that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a cat. We just got her, and here we
my
go, right?
friend. So I see your cat issue with my daughter in a car accident issue, which is a lot more to deal with.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So last and it seems to be, Manny, we've noticed a theme when we go out for pizza. My family calls me and there's a car accident going on. Anyways, Justine was T-boned by a guy in a Subaru, and her car went from not having a single scratch or dent to a car that's probably totaled. Thankfully, she's fine, and the passengers in the car and the doggy that was in the car.
All those fluffy pillows came out.
Yes, 4 airbags came out, 2 doors are toast, the steering wheel's locked up. But I will give GM and Chevy their props. The OnStar system called the police, and I got all the texts that the traction control, because when they hit her, it spun the car. So I got like a traction control announcement. I got a battery is dying announcement.
Wow.
And so, yeah. So good news is, the guy that hit her has insurance. Now here's for those of you, this is a PSA here, for those of you that have a college kid, 20 years old, and needs a rental car. I think most of us know or believe that you have to be 25 years old to rent a car. And when I called State Farm as well as USAA, they too said you need to be 25. And this is a problem because my daughter's in Salt Lake City. So long story short, I do a little search, and Hertz actually will rent to 20-year-olds, and they just have like a bit of a surcharge. However, here's how listening to PCA Insider is going to save you a couple of bucks. If you ever have this happen, if you have AAA, Hertz will rent to a 20-year-old, and you have AAA, they will waive that that extra fee. So it's now just a regular rental, and so now she's driving. Ironically, she's driving a SUV version of the car that she was in. She's driving a Buick Encore, which has the same steering wheel, same gauge cluster, and all that stuff. And I said, so what do you think of the car that's pretty much yours, but it's a little bit taller? And this is where I'm a proud dad. She goes, well, it's okay. But Dad, this automatic, man, it's so boring.
That's awesome.
So now we're on a hunt. For those of you that listening, maybe you can help me find the right car for her. Let's say about $25,000. Manual, needs to be a manual. She has a 82-pound lab pit that needs to fit into it. And because she lives in Salt Lake City, she's requesting that it be 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. What are you thinking, Manny?
No, I'm just thinking that it's not really up to her. It's up to you. It's really car you want.
No, I have to.
She already told you what she wants.
I have to disconnect. It can't be a car that I want. The Chevy Cruze was hers. I mean, it was her idea. So.
You can find a Camry like mine.
Was the Chevy Cruze stereo modified?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotta
it was.
Get the sub out, right?
Well, yeah. When the car got towed to the tow yard, I said you have to go grab the sub.
Yeah.
So she did. She went and grabbed the sub. Unfortunately, the amp was under the seat, so I wasn't gonna make her disassemble that. So consider that a loss. And here's the crazy thing: is right now we're still negotiating, but the value that they're gonna pay out on her car, if it's deemed totaled, which I think it will be more than the value of what we paid for the car.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
So values are still up there.
Yeah, but then also cars are more expensive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways,
That's where you go and buy a car like my Camry, where it was probably $25,000 when it was new.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
Vu's
But-
gonna put his daughter in a car like your Camry.
well, that's the thing is if she was local, there'd be a lot more options. And I'd be willing to take
Yeah.
more risks. But her being all the way in Salt Lake, I need something that's completely reliable. That she
Yeah.
just needs to put gas in it and go. And yeah, it's got to be new with Apple CarPlay. And the Cruze did exactly what I wanted. It protected her and did the right thing. It's just a shame that it's now gone. Yeah.
Poor car.
Anyways, how about fun stuff you guys did this weekend? I'm
we
guessing
we went to go see Jerry Seinfeld on Friday night.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
so took the wives with us and to Meyerhoff,
Yep.
which is a very nice symphony hall. Incredibly complicated to figure out where to sit at.
Not really.
Yeah, we had to keep on asking people where. When
It's
we
just
went to
because-
see Rage Against the Machine, we didn't need help. We made sense where we were going.
Okay. So the reason
We came back with the beers and we went into the wrong. We went to the wrong box.
well, the reason being is because we are not fancy people and we don't often go to the Meyerhoff. In fact, when I got there, you looked at me and I was wearing jeans and you're like, you can't wear jeans to the Meyerhoff. I'm like, what?
Do you see some people
I
the way they were dressed?
I
They
had
were
dark
dressed nice.
jeans. Yes, but you can wear jeans to the Meyerhoff, nice jeans, and yeah, people
You
were
can wear
dressed.
jeans to a fancy restaurant. That
People
doesn't
were.
mean you're.
People were dressed up. Anyways, I wasn't even sure if we could drink while we watched and have popcorn.
But
So
they had a hot dog and a taco sales truck right in front of the Meyerhoff.
they did.
So
They did.
Yeah.
we figured people.
So
were,
Jerry Seinfeld still has it, man. He had us in stitches. And Mario Joyner, who opened the act, I hadn't seen him for a while. He was pretty funny too.
Yep. There was a couple kind of in front of us, and Mario Joyner was going on about the fact he's not a father, and he's 60 years old. And the reason he's not a father is because he's been using condoms, and he's a big believer. And he says when people say, oh, they break on you, he goes, you know how much it takes to break a condom? And he's talking about how people can put their whole leg inside of it. And he's going on and on. He's going, what kind of stuff are you doing that's breaking this condom? And everyone's laughing. And I noticed a couple in front of us. The guy's laughing, but the girl
Isn't?
is very stoic and straight faced. I leaned over to my wife. I go, guarantee first date, maybe last date.
Yeah,
Because
there
he
was,
kept on, he would burst out laughing, look at her, and then he would stop laughing.
yeah. Even
Oh,
Jerry,
boy.
there was a couple times times when he was talking about relationship jokes, he's like, at this point, do not look at your spouse or do not chuckle too loud.
Because he said, he goes, basically in relationship, one of you is a adopted pet. And he goes, adopted pet in need or something like that. And he goes, and everyone, in a good relationship, each partner thinks that they married the adopted pet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're there to save the pet. And he goes, that's good. He goes, if you both think that. He goes, don't look at each other because you're going to look at each other like knowing feeling that, I married the adoptive pet.
Yeah, so he's all over the country. He was 2 shows on Friday. Then I think it was like heading to Michigan and then Arizona. He's on the road.
Yeah,
Good for him.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you autocrossed, Damon?
I did, yeah. Last autocross of the season, for me at least.
Now the car goes up on jack stands?
Yeah, pretty much. I've got a little bit of work to do, oil change. So this was up at Summit Point again. And
this was Saturday?
This was Saturday, and
day.
I was the 3rd and last run group, so it had warmed up a little bit. It was like 60 degrees. Really, really, really tight autocross course in a couple areas. And it was supposed to be the toughest of the season, and memory serves me, for Potomac, that was definitely the toughest autocross.
Toughest as far as trying to remember the course, or toughest?
There was that.
Challenging
I was
course?
lucky to get it on the first try, so I didn't mess myself up for future runs. You can see there I went a little bit deep. It's funny, this was my best run, and I look at my race box data for my next run, and I messed up early on, but I keep catching up more and more and more, but just not enough to go faster. So I see all the mistakes that I'm making, but overall it was a good run, my fastest.
So how'd you do overall?
7th overall.
Wow.
Like 66 people, and I was really happy with the time.
Nice.
So, yeah, Rafael Garces has I believe his
Boxster?
981
Yeah.
GTS.
That's like stock.
And yeah, it's stock, and I do not know. And I believe I didn't see his tires, but that man is so fast.
Raphael can drive.
Like he was on Michelin PS4S's earlier on in the season and beat me by a little bit. And I wasn't thinking you could possibly go that quickly on PS4S's when everyone else is running the super stickies, but.
Raphael's always been fast.
Yeah. So he was my goal. I didn't beat him, so maybe next year.
Yeah, he was fast when he was like in a BMW, and then he switched to driving. I don't know if he just drives the Boxster for PCA events, but he's quick.
Yeah.
He's always good to watch.
Since you learned to work on your car watching YouTube videos, I wonder if that applies to the cat.
Yeah, right? Yeah, well.
I mean, you do have a lot of tools.
See, X-Acto knife. I'm sure I have some strings somewhere.
Okay, I don't want any complaints from animal lovers. So
Yeah, just FYI.
I
Won't be doing that.
I have 2 cats. I'm a cat lover.
Yeah.
yes, and I have a cat as well. Well, Manny and I, we did our local car show. I know it was a beautiful day on Saturday here in Maryland, and I bet you all the cars and car meets in the area were packed. We landed at Mikey and Mels, and it didn't disappoint. Just a whole host of everything that you could imagine under the sun in terms of exotics as well as hot rods. But something unique they had for this closing event was they had a helicopter land, which was kind of cool, like a little.
It's the world's tiniest helicopter I've ever seen.
Yeah,
The trainer, is it?
It's a trainer. Yeah, it's like a Robin 22 or something like that.
I think I've seen RC helicopters bigger than that.
And the pilot also was very small. So there it was, landed at 7:30 before all the cars came, and they just put 2 little wheels, and then they rolled it into a parking space, and they let kids climb into it. So that's pretty cool.
So when a helicopter lands, like, don't you need to like tell somebody, or did he clear it with?
Oh yeah. So there were definitely lots of protocols in place for it to land.
So he didn't show up and just land a helicopter.
No, probably the biggest worry is people calling in that it dropped out of the sky, because like they don't expect it to
land in a shopping center.
In a shopping center,
Yeah.
so they have to let the police know, the fire department know. And, they have to get proper authority. I think you have to have written permission from the landowner, and I think you have to like log when you're landing and when you go up, because I believe I don't know if it was someone was coming through the area like in the afternoon, and they had to make sure that they didn't go up at that time. So yeah, it was lots of costumes and such. So it was a lot of fun.
So what I was trying to figure out was, 'cause I came to to Mikey and Mels instead of going to my usual Hunt Valley Cars and Coffee. And I said, it's a vibe is completely different. And somebody said, what do you like better? And I said, I like Cars and Coffee because it's a different vibe.
Yeah.
And so I went around, and there's as much or maybe even more Porsches at this event than the normal Hunt Valley Cars and Coffee. But I realized this isn't a Cars and Coffee. This is what they advertise. It's a cruise, which brings a whole different type of car enthusiast than maybe the Cars and Coffee. Cars and Coffee is more chill. There's no, it's the same thing every week.
Yeah.
You just come, park. Hunt Valley gets like 400 cars. You just walk around. Half the time you don't get, at least we don't see 75% of the cars because we meet other people that we know and just sit there talking about the cars, more social, I think, than the cars themselves. The cruise type, I noticed, they're more the car show, like the 3 o'clock in the afternoon type cruise, where we do this. They do this near my house at the Wegmans shopping center. It's the ones, the people who put the kid, stuffed kid in the who's crying and they lean him against
on the bumper.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know why hot rodders have the need to put stuffed animals all over the car. I guess I'm missing something. I guess because I don't see it in the Porsche world. But that's what the difference was. And I thought, this isn't a Cars and Coffee. Maybe that's why I don't like it as much as I do at Hunt Valley Cars and Coffee.
Yeah, it's more of a production. A lot of cars kind of cruise into it. The hot rod crowd definitely has a lot of
They did
display.
seem well behaved. I didn't
Oh,
see
yeah, absolutely.
anybody doing anything stupid or...
That's funny that you mentioned it. So last night for about an hour or so, we have this poke place, the raw tuna food. Anyways, it's like cars and poke, but it starts from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. and it's a totally different crowd. I think that the average age drops by like 20 years. You've got like high school kids and college kids and new car owner, young enthusiasts. I think it's just because they can't wake up early, right? But there was this one guy who was a hot rodder, and he too had like all his stuff in front of the car. And I was walking with this kid was, I think, in college. And he goes, yeah, this must belong to an old guy. And I'm like, why do you say that? He's like, yeah, old guys put like all this stuff around their cars. I'm like, oh, damn, I better not do that anymore.
Oh, yeah. Like the sign. And
the guy had like photos and the sign and like a little poster next to it. And yeah, the whole story about the car.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I never looked at it that way. Like I looked at it as, oh, that's interesting to learn about the history of the car. But
no comment.
The kid just automatically assumed it was an old guy, and he wasn't wrong. The guy was old.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So we did a couple of fun OMRs last week, right?
Yeah, I got to drive a 1968 911 that's set up as an R Gruppe 911R. So for those who don't know, the original 911R was a super lightweight. I think it was 66, 67, maybe 67. The European way of doing the years always throws me off. Anyways, it was made out of fiberglass, and they save weight everywhere they could. And it's a very rare car, so if you ever see one, take a second look at it because you probably won't see it again. It's super unusual to see them. I'm going to think 20-some maybe they made, I think.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there.
Yeah. So anyways, this was inspired by 911R. 911R had round taillights in the rear. That's an easy way to spot,
All right.
at least a replica of one of what they're trying to do. But this was Rob's, and not Rob Sass, but another Rob. And it was a blast to drive. I gave it the highest rating for fun factor I've done to date.
Oh.
It was geared very low. I think I was doing about 4,000 RPM at 75 miles an hour.
Oh wow.
So you got to shift through all the gears quickly. Had 175 horsepower, 2.4 in it with E-cam. So it was a screamer. It had fiberglass and it had very light fiberglass, not the heavier type. You can almost see through it.
Wow.
Deck lid, fenders, hood.
So is that stuff like available to buy? Like you can buy fiberglass pieces for your car?
Yeah, I don't think it's original Porsche.
Yeah, I'm sure he went aftermarket. And there are companies
I think
out
GT
there.
Racing out west sells a lot of fiberglass parts that are made for people who want to make their car look like this.
So what about brakes and suspension and transmission on a car like that?
It's still a 901, but different gear set on it. Yeah, it still has a torsion bar suspension.
And that's a short wheelbase car?
Short wheelbase, so
Yep, 68.
68 should be, 69 was when they extended the length. So it's a super light car. You can see how easy it is to get the car loose. But if you know how to drive, you can bring it right back into place just as easy. It was a beautiful weather. I actually got more than a mile in it because we had to drive 40 minutes to the place we were going to film from the guy's house. We went to his house to pick it up.
Yeah, the last minute thing.
And back again. And it was loud. It was super loud. I was talking to, we went to a friend's party where there were a lot of Porsche people yesterday, and he said, "What'd you think of it?" And I said, "It was fun." I said, "But wow." I said, "I didn't give it very good ratings for a daily driver or road trip because it was so loud."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, he takes it on those like California
Targa.
Millies or Targa." And and I'm like, how far do you guys drive in a day? And he said, several hundred miles easy.
Yeah.
I was like,
Does
God
he
bless.
wear earplugs or?
Well, that's what he said. He goes, I usually wear earplugs in my 914. He said because his is super loud too. He goes, I don't know if they Rob and Brandy run headphones or earplugs, but
that was the loudest car I think we've done a 1 mile review on.
I got in a car. I'm like, is it as loud outside the car as it is inside?
He's following me, and usually, with the exhaust of a car following you, you can't hear it because it's pointed backwards. But I could hear it, all the way up into my Golf with the windows closed.
Now, I hear there was a little bit of a treasure hunt as part of your 1 mile review.
Yes. We had
Damon.
a GoPro fall off, and we found it. So there's a little footage there. We'll see if we'll do anything with it. But, it was just sitting there in the middle of the road.
You got to let it show the tumble.
Yep. We've got the tumble, and then we have it when it was still filming when I picked it up. So
was it because it was on a fiberglass part, or?
No, it was on the door,
rides hard or
which
something.
it's a steel door, I believe. I noted the metal felt like kind of thin, so I was thinking, do I do this or do I not? Because will it have
we
a
asked
good?
him, and he said it was fine.
He said fine, so I gave it a try, and but I guess I think the metal was maybe a little bit too thin, just didn't have a good grip on it or something, but. It fell off. GoPros, especially if they're in the cage, they will do fine.
I pulled in. When you do a 1 mile review, you pull in and you're still recording, and you shut the car off and you give it the ratings. So as I'm talking, I can see Damon walking around the car looking, and I'm thinking, is he trying to tell me that my battery died on the cameras and I'm talking for no reason at all? So I finished. I opened the door and I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "We lost a GoPro."
So that was like a good 5 minutes
At least, yeah.
So something like that.
So it fell off somewhere
So I
down
told
the
him,
road.
I said, "Well, hop in. Let's go look for it." And
it fell off about halfway. He took the loop. He didn't turn around.
Okay.
So fell off after the film, our normal turnaround point, if we were going to turn around. And so he came all the way around.
Wow.
Did the review, and I came up because I'm like, do I say? No, I'm not going to say anything. So I just turned off one of the GoPros and just stood there, probably threw him off his game a little bit.
yeah, because I couldn't figure out, is he trying to tell me something? Does he want me to stop talking?
Yeah. So
that's a good 15, 20 minutes in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sitting there in the middle of the road.
And no one ran over it.
No one ran over it, I don't think, because
And
it
no
was
one
right in
stopped
the
to pick it
middle.
up.
So
It was right in the
no one
middle.
picked it up.
And luckily, if he had it on the right side of the car, there's a good chance it would have bounced and went into like a ditch, and we would have never seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
But here it was, right in the sitting on the yellow
Nice.
line. So we got very lucky.
Equipment recovery a success.
Yeah,
That's good.
Exactly.
Wow. So I'm assuming
Damon
that's
got an Omar done too on Saturday.
Yeah, went on Sunday actually.
so probably like a complete opposite of. I mean, your car, the 68 was probably the most analog thing that you could possibly have, and then you drive something that's the complete
it was
opposite.
a 2022 Panamera GTS Sport Turismo, and it actually might be as loud, if not louder. Definitely louder because it had like the pops and bangs tune. So it was one of those cars.
Modified.
It was modified. It was first off fantastic car. The main things are it had a engine tune and a PDK transmission tune for faster shifting, muffler delete, and a downpipe.
No mufflers at all.
Yes, I guess. It didn't sound like it was muffler-less, but I don't know if there's a resonator in the middle, or something. But yeah, the rear mufflers were removed, and there was a downpipe, and it was really loud. And you put it in the Sport or Sport Plus especially, and it just pops and bangs, when you're on the overrun.
Well, now, how did it get quicker shifts out of a PDK? And it already seemed like lightning fast.
Well, it is lightning fast, but Porsche. Now the transmission tune. It felt quicker. It also felt harder. I don't know if the shift action is actually much quicker, or if it's there to give you that impression of getting like kicked in the back when you upshift. I'm gonna assume it's faster. It's just a programming thing. So they probably slam the clutches in harder.
So do you have it on Sport or Sport Plus?
Yeah. So in normal mode, it's felt pretty much the same. When you put it into Sport Plus, you can really feel that the transmission tune has changed, and it'll. I think of. I've never driven one, but the Lamborghini Aventador didn't go with the dual clutch. They went with that semi-automatic manual, so that when you shift that car, it feels like a violent shove in the back, and they wanted that because it's more emotional, and that's what this feels like.
They don't change internally the clutches, though.
It's all software.
No, it's all software.
Yeah.
So we'll see. He set a 800 horsepower as it was dynoed at the wheels.
Wow.
I'm willing to believe him. It was super quick, faster than the Turbo S that we drove, or the Turbo SE Hybrid. Really fun car. And then the lowering module that basically you trick the car into thinking it's at the correct stock ride height when it's actually lowered a little bit on air suspension. And it rode beautifully, and it's something I would do if I had a Panamera with the air suspension.
Did you find it? So I've driven a number of Panameras, and from the lowest trim to a Turbo S, and I mean, it's probably for road tripping. If you didn't give it a 9 or 10, I'd be surprised. Maybe because this was
I gave
modified.
it an 8.5. I believe 8.5. I think for road trip.
But did you find the more you drive it? Well, you really only had a mile, so I've had one for a couple of days, and I just find that the more you drive them, you the car seems to like shrink around you, because it's a Panamera is a big car, right? But the more you drive it, and you kind of learn where the blind spots are and the outer limits of the car, like it gets like fun and nimble. I mean,
Panameras shrink in that sense.
Yeah.
The only time they really feel small is when you're in Germany, in the towns.
You mean when they seem big?
Yes, excuse me. When they seem big.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have to admit the Taycan is like the perfect body and size. I wish maybe the new Panamera will be more of that size. But the back seats, there's no. You can't complain about the back seating.
Right.
It's incredible.
I think the Panamera will always stay that size. It's the bigger saloon that's comfortable, like you said, with the back seat. And the Taycan, yes, it's smaller and probably a nicer package to kind of whip around, but you don't have the same kind of seating comfort in the back.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's a car that it didn't seem like 800 horsepower is too much for that platform, especially when you consider it's more than 4,500. I think it's 4,600 pound or something like that. The Panamera GTS. So 800 horsepower.
That sounds crazy to me. A road-going car, family car with 800 horsepower.
Yeah, but it was nice, and it's one of those things that I would have loved to have driven it more, but not this time around. It's a rental car though. It's a Turo rental. So
it's a Turo. Oh, it's on Turo.
Yeah. I think the guy's name Christian's Garages LLC. If you're in this area, and he has a 2022.
Did you look to see what he charges per day?
No, I haven't yet. That'll probably be in the final video. But as part of this, we didn't rent the car. He just asked if we wanted to drive it, and we said yes. And we'll give him and his business credit in the back. Special thanks to his Turo rental. But kind of cool that you can just go pay probably at least a couple $100 for a day, and you can probably just drive it 100 miles, 200. No, this was the guy personally reached out and asked us if we wanted to drive it.
So could you guys do that? Because like I've rented from Turo before and have pretty good experience, and I see some of the people that I've met or talked on the phone through Turo, like they're young entrepreneurs, and they get these cars specifically to rent them out. But then there's people that are just simply renting them out because it's their personal car to get additional income. Could any of you do that?
From a business standpoint, yes. My current cars, no.
I couldn't do it.
But if I see where people do this as a business. You know, they buy with the intent purpose to rent these cars out.
Yeah.
No, I could not. I think Haggerty does something similar too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
No, I can't.
Drive share.
I was nervous as heck just Damon driving my 914 for a mile.
Yeah. I let my dad borrow our Odyssey, which has cameras and all this stuff, and still comes home and there's a scratch on the bumper, and I'm like, oh, Dad.
Yeah.
Now, when I did a Toro, at the Monterey Parade. I rented a 996 coupe, and I got the full insurance, which at the time, I don't know what it is now. I haven't done Toro in a while, but it was fairly inexpensive to get the full 100% no deductible insurance. Yeah. And the AOS, the air oil separator, went up.
Oh, right. I remember that.
And so when I parked, I told a guy, and I guess he thought I didn't know what I was talking about because he called me up and he said, something wrong with the car. It's smoking. I said, I know. I said, I told you. I think the air oil separator went up on you. I said, but he's like, well, you got to pay for it. And I said, I have insurance with Toro, so take it up with Toro.
Yeah.
And I already told him that you may be calling him.
Yeah.
And it's the last I heard. It was all taken care of. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pretty cool. All right, so before we get into the news, I do want to ask if you're enjoying the podcast, and please give us a like on whatever platform. Feel free to comment. We enjoy reading your comments, and of course, subscribe. We are tracking pretty well. I was looking at the charts and how when we first started, it was interesting when we first started the podcast. We're almost to a year. Last December. Like when we first dropped our 7 initial podcasts, we were like right at the top. Like maybe because we dropped so many.
We're new, and I think anytime it's new, it always moves to the top.
And then we were doing like every 2 weeks or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you would see we would be for the automotive podcast area, we would be in anywhere between 25 to 50 in the automotive in the U.S. and even higher in Canada. But because we were doing every 2 weeks, by the second week it would drop and dip. But now we're really consistent across the top, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We're still in the top 5 in Czech Republic.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Thank you for listening, Czech Republic. So anyways, let's get into the news. First on the line is Porsche profits soar.
Yes, this is right on the heels of the IPO and the stock. So they're starting the year off right, I guess you could say, with the new IPO. That they're still at a high profit margin, highest. They're still the most profitable car company in the world. And like Damon and I were speaking about it prior to the podcast. Basically, they're saying that Porsche people will be more than happy to absorb any increases due to the inflation or cost of materials or whatnot. It
seems like a pretty brazen thing to say, but I mean, it's
say,
true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Just make them, we'll buy them.
Yeah,
we've been saying it for a while. Everything they come out with, they sell out. Usually before
and with a markup.
Up.
So
yeah, it's.
It makes sense from a business standpoint, for sure.
Here's the funny thing is I talked to my mom quite a bit, and the other day she's like, honey, what's going on with Porsche? Like, why don't why doesn't Porsche advertise more? I think they could get more customers and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Mom, you do realize they sell pretty much every single car that they make. She's like, they do? I'm like, yeah, in fact, there's like usually a waiting line. So... And then she goes, yeah, if that was the case, I wouldn't advertise as much either.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they don't advertise, but compared to other automakers that will have, advertising and
we see more
platforms.
Porsche design and sort of different branches of Porsche advertising with BCA.
Yeah, you're right. Like Marked, which is owned by Porsche, the online auction, you see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they did the Super Bowl commercial, earlier this year. Which was a lot of money and was pretty much a surprise to a lot of people that because Porsche hadn't done a Super Bowl commercial in a while. But yeah, I think it's a golden era of right now with Porsche because any event, if they feature Porsche as a featured mark, it's a guaranteed home run. Yeah. And Steve Earle, who used to do the Monterey Historics before he passed away and left it. he used to always say Ferrari and Porsche were guaranteed like sellouts if you featured those marks, and I think it's very true right now. That may change in the future, but and I've heard this in other podcasts about some of the other auto manufacturers, and it was surprising. Not I want to crap on them, but BMW was one that they brought up that doesn't have the same pull as it did at one time. And I was thinking about it on the way in, and I thought, I remember when I was in my late 20s, I bought a new BMW 325i, and and I was following the trend. I was thinking, okay, I'll keep this for a couple of years, and then I'll look at an M3 because they were coming out with that. But it came to a point where I had to make a decision: is it Porsche or BMW I'm going to spend my money on, and I chose Porsche. But now I don't even look at BMWs.
Yeah, I feel as though I'm a BMW CCA member and longtime BMW enthusiast, and drive BMWs. But as far as their current lineup, I just feel like it's so diluted, right? And the people that buy them, the M cars, totally. Those people are enthusiasts, diehards. The people that drive more of the classic BMWs, yes, they're diehards. But I get like all the 1 Series, 2 Series, 3 Series. I can't even keep up. 3 Series, 4 Series, 5 Series, 6 Series, 7 Series, and the 20 variants that each of them have. They're nice cars. I'm not so sold on the huge like beaver teeth grill that they have. Oh, yeah.
Everything BMW makes is that's an M model. I love M models, but they're all very heavy and large cars compared to what they used to. It doesn't seem like BMW offers something except for maybe the Z4, that's a smaller. And the Z4 is still actually a pretty heavy car.
Yeah,
you've got to remember.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Porsche's, Boxster still is roughly 3,000 pounds or something, which isn't all that heavy. I don't know. I like the lightweight mid-engine. Doesn't have to be mid-engine, but lightweight sports car formula. And BMW just doesn't seem to have that anymore.
Yeah, but what I will give it to BMW as far as having one car that can kind of almost do it all, especially if you get like a 4-door M car, like it's fast, it's capable handling. You can put 4 people comfortably in it. Yeah, again, the people that are buying those cars, they're like cut from the same cloth as us as far as enthusiasts. But there's so many other non-enthusiast driving BMWs that I think it just dilutes the brand.
I haven't really looked into it, but I'd be interested to see what they view as their competition, or what their customers, what a potential BMW customer is also looking at instead of the BMW. We know with Porsche, they compete with BMW to a certain degree, Mercedes, but it'd be interesting to see what BMW is, because I get excited by looking to see what the Japanese are coming out with as far as hot hatchbacks go. Right. And
well, that's
for the buck.
That's where I was going to go with this. Like back in the 80s and 90s, the separation of good cars and great cars was like pretty big separation, right? Like let's say like a Supra from the 80s or 90s, like they were good, but compared to an 80s or 90s Porsche, that's a big gap. But now today, the world is smaller, right? And they're learning from each other, and these cars from the Japanese or even the Koreans or Italians, like that gap is much smaller. So thankfully Porsche, they're so well differentiated, and they're so true to their heritage. Like that gap, or the understanding of that gap, is significant. But to all the other car manufacturers, if you're not loyal, it's kind of a toss-up. Like, oh, I can get the car today, the price point. I can get into a Lexus. I can get into it's like, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to an autocross where Damon Autocross SECA. And it's amazing to see these, once again, hot little inexpensive hatchbacks that are just clobbering Porsches.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch, to see. Hey, you can get a lot of bang for your buck if you're looking for a daily driver that obviously handles pretty darn well.
Yep.
And if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
you can make anything handle well, I think.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Let me let you drive my Suburban, and you may the iceberg with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So making things better, making things more crazy. How about the next news item? Porsche taking the Taycan to kind of a different level.
Yeah, this was actually last week's, but we didn't get around to talking about it, and I thought it was worth a mention.
Yeah.
So they're going for the tri-motor, which is the 2 rear motors and 1 front. Tesla's done this with the Plaid, so obviously Porsche's going to be looking at doing the same thing, which is even more power. If you've driven a Taycan, everyone's blown away by the power on it. So a tri-power is just going to be.
So does that
insane.
mean one motor is dedicated to one rear wheel?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And this has you can see the aero package if you're watching the YouTube version of our podcast.
How much is too fast?
This is still the spy photo.
Well, we got to remember the Taycan at the Nürburgring isn't all that quick, compared to all types of cars. For an electric car, it's super quick.
Yeah.
But
the
Tesla has still beaten them with their
Yeah.
with their Plaid. Porsche doesn't just.
But the
settle.
acceleration is already ridiculous. 0 to 60 in 2.8 or something like
Did
that.
Tesla beat them, or
I'm pretty sure that
because I know there was a lot of controversy on
the
which
Plaid-
version they were using.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the Plaid did beat the Taycan.
What about the Taycan that had the German only some package to it earlier
yeah.
this summer, and it beat the Tesla Plaid? It had
don't
the
remember
I forgot
that.
to remember the name. It was just it was we had it in our news. I have to go back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought the Taycan still holds the record because they
Well, this is something we should probably look up right now.
You two have laptops and you're asking
Yeah.
each other these questions.
Well, I want to make it look like we know what we're talking about. Yeah, but I thought it was some package. It was only available in Germany.
So the Plaid was 7 minutes and 30.9 seconds, and
which because I remember when that came out, there was some controversy as to it wasn't a production Plaid.
7 minutes 33 seconds for the Taycan Turbo S.
Yeah, did it say it had a package on it? It was a redesign or.
It was. I don't want to just talk based on my memory because that might be somewhat wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it was a stock or pre-production powertrain or something, and they had
But it was just,
nice tires.
So it'll be interesting to see what they call this
Yeah.
new version. Will it have a GT moniker? I'd be surprised if it did. Be pretty cool if it did, but will it have a GT or will they call it another package or power kit or something along those lines?
Yeah,
We'll
see.
find out.
I can't see anything about the modifications that they might have done. I remember something, but I mean, let's just say the Model S Plaid beat the Taycan, and Porsche is going to try and beat them by a lot more.
The race is on.
That's kind of what I'm
pretty
thinking.
sure the Taycan's still. I swore.
Those of you that are listening, if you're in the know more so than my two colleagues here, please let us know and set
Yep.
the record straight.
because there's always controversy when Tesla does it because they're supposedly not using production cars, or Porsche did, and I don't know. It was.
So speaking of modifications, Manny and I are getting ready to board an airplane and head to Las Vegas.
For 3 days of SEMA,
SEMA, and where we'll put probably 20,000 steps a day,
at least.
finding out the latest equipment for all vehicles, but really with the focus of Porsche, and seeking out some probably insane builds for 2022 that we will invite to Unstock.
Yeah, last year we saw a lot of stuff about paint protection film, carbon and graphene coating on the cars. So it should be interesting to see what. There'll be two things I'll be looking for. Is it bigger than last year? Because last year you guys told me that it was actually smaller
It was.
than years prior.
Yep.
So has it gotten any more popular as far as vendors, or has it gotten less?
I think last year wasn't a function of is it popular, but last year the function was a lot of out of country vendors. It was very difficult for them to come to the U.S. and then also a lot of manufacturers were suffering from severe budget cuts. So my guess is this year is going to be probably close to back to norm. I mean, I think everyone's still having supply chain issues. You've heard that a million times, but they want to. This is actually a B2B conference. The regular,
except for Friday is open to the public and come in on Friday.
Most of the business on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Not most. All the business on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is B2B, and so these manufacturers are coming out to invest in meeting with their business partners. And I've got to imagine now that things are kind of on the upswing, they really need to make sure to be there and educate their distributors and such on all the new products.
It's hopefully it's as big as it used to be.
I think so.
Because we see this with auto shows, like the LA Auto Show's gone now to one media day. Before it was two media days.
Yeah, that's you know what, that's an interesting point.
And people have been talking about how manufacturers now are going for the whole event experience, and they're doing things at the Quail, they're doing things at at Amelia Island. That's where they're doing their debut. Did it at the Porsche Parade.
Yeah,
they debuted the America Cabriolet. So it's because you can see the cars running, you can see the cars moving versus a static car show. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the model, man, I can't tell you how much, like, as a kid, I was so excited when, like, the DC Auto Show was coming around, or the Auto Show in Baltimore, or even the New York Auto Show. Like, that was where you went to find out the latest model, latest and greatest. But look at what we have at our hands today. If the manufacturer wants you to learn about something, you can learn about it within seconds. They'll pop it into your feed, or it's on the internet. So why do you go to an auto show anymore? I mean, is it to sit in the cars? And there's so many different models. Like, really, is the auto show going to have the model that you want to sit in? And some of these auto shows don't even allow you to sit in the cars. And it's a huge investment for the dealers and the manufacturers. And so I wonder how much longer these kind of auto shows will continue to exist.
We should say that the LA Auto Show, it's the press days that have been cut down over the years from more than
Media
one to
days.
just one.
Yeah.
So it'll still be around for everybody else. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, with all the social media, which would include YouTube and everything online, automakers really don't need journalists to present the information as much as they might have in the past.
I mean,
so
I think it's cost is one of the biggest things.
And then you couple cost in with that as
well.
well.
Very expensive to do, like the New York Auto Show.
Sure.
Detroit, I remember, was Porsche telling me how expensive it was versus what they thought was a return on investment.
Yeah.
And now they can do it, like I said, at an event at a fraction of the cost, and reach as many people, because as Damon articulated, there's so much social media. That's the information is out immediately.
So social media is very trackable, very easy to understand. The dollar that you spent, how many eyeballs got to see it, and the reach is amazing worldwide. When you choose a particular show to go to, I'm sure there are metrics that you can, that are reported on. But man, that's tough competition of a physical show with bodies coming to see it. For the people that do go, I'm sure it's amazing. But as far as reach and eyeballs, man, it's tough to compete with a social media campaign. Yeah. So, anyways, let's see. Want to kind of update? You talked about Monterey earlier. Are there any updates on Rensport you want to share?
Well, we participated in the call, and I can tell you that I believe so all the hospitality they said was sold out. VIP type of hospitality. They're looking how to accommodate more hospitality, because everyone, including the folks from Germany, Porsche Germany, are looking for hospitality. They can entertain some VIPs, and good luck to Laguna and trying to find space, because it's only a finite amount of space they have there. And same thing with parking areas. They are, it's a puzzle piece that they're very limited with how much space on this board they can put cars. And I think even you asked about club racing. in the paddock area, and that's going to be tight. So there isn't going to be a lot of room to lay out and make a McMansion of your parking area like you're maybe used to at some club races. It reminds me of during the heyday of SCCA. I would walk around the paddock at some point and say, "Oh my God, they put like 6 cars in the space we put 1 car." Because we take so much room with easy ups and chairs, and you put the grill and this, that, and that's not going to happen at Laguna. It's going to be very tight.
But it's indicative of the popularity of this event. Almost a year out, and things are already sold out, and people are clamoring for, more possibilities to host people, and I can't wait. I can't wait. A year can't come fast enough. I know we've got a lot of stuff to prepare for, but again, if you're listening, if you're considering going to Rennsport Reunion next year, there's nothing to consider. If you have the means and you can take the time off, just do it. Just do it, because nothing is guaranteed.
You don't want to be a group like I was at the first Rennsport, where afterwards you heard everyone talking about it and how they went, or you saw the pictures. That was before social media was popular. Yeah. But that year I heard about this Rennsport Reunion thing, I didn't go to it. It was just at Lime Rock, and now that you know, it's going to be we're memorable.
We've told you, and you can't blame us if you don't go. Let's go into our upcoming events. A little bit of sad news, a tear in my eye, and that has to do with Tech Tactics West.
Yeah, we knew this coming in. We were behind the scenes trying to find our original location where we've done it for the past couple of them. Fell through. Yep. Because the dates weren't relayed or something. Anyways, we were looking at alternatives so we could still hold the event, and it just didn't. This didn't work out.
Yeah, and it got to the point where it's like, do we want to do it well and still, and consider an alternative location, but we felt like we couldn't do 100% of a Tech Tactics with these locations that were presented to us. So with the tier, I am announcing and letting you know that Tech Tactics West will not happen this year, but we are already working on Tech Tactics East. So for those of you in and around Easton, Pennsylvania, we'll keep you posted on that, but we are working on that. Happier news is Unstock is sold out. We are looking forward to hosting probably thousands of people coming to the event. We've got some amazing cars. Can we like tease them with like maybe one of the cool cars that's coming?
Sure.
Yeah. What do you want to tease with? I'll let you choose. You got to. I mean, Manny pretty much.
Well, for me, the cool one's going to see is the 001. The roof Yellowbird.
Yes.
As Damon and I were talking about, this is not the one. The prototype ran about the Nürburgring.
It's not a Yellowbird. It is a CTR.
Well, technically, they call it. The owner calls it a Yellowbird. Who am I to argue?
Yep.
All right. You walk up to him and you tell him that it's not a Yellowbird.
So you know how you can tell a Yellowbird from a CTR?
How's that?
The NACA ducts in front of the rear wheel wells are on the Yellowbird, and that's because it's a prototype. So the CTR production car, which will be at the show, will not have those NACA ducts. Yeah. But it looks like a Yellowbird. It's basically what it is.
I love the iconic.
It was actually restored.
Iconic roof wheels. Yeah. And I had a chance to buy a set of those.
That will not be at Unstock. That's a Carrera RS on the
RS one?
Yeah, that's not going to be at
Unstock. So a couple of years ago, probably more than a decade ago, I had an opportunity to buy a set of roof wheels for my Turbo Look. I love that look, but mine's an M491 Turbo Look, so I have a normally aspirated, 215, 220 horsepower motor, and I had found out that the roof wheels are actually very heavy.
I was going to say, they're not light wheels.
They're not light wheels, but they made them that way for, I think, stability for the Yellowbird, so I passed on them. But, man, do they look good.
Yeah.
They're one of the best looking wheels.
Anyways, that'll be pretty cool to see.
That's awesome.
That's like the OG Peterson.
That is the OG Unstock car.
Yes, that's exactly what. I mean, the fact that they shaved off the rain gutters, they were completely back then looking for every possible.
That's a new Yellowbird actually,
That was
or
the new
new
one?
CTR, I
Yeah,
should say.
CTR.
Yeah, that's not the one that's coming to the show.
Looks like an old car, but that is brand new with carbon fiber and everything.
But it's pretty cool, the original production Yellowbird.
Yep.
So those of you that have signed up for the LA Auto Show member preview, you'll get to see Manny. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I will be heading back to Maryland for my brother's wedding. But 290 of you will go through
Sold
the
out,
portion.
I think, in 36 hours.
Yeah.
It was sold out.
And that was good because I was worried it was going to sell out quicker because that's when you get the calls and complaints. So for it to sell out within 24 or 36 hours, like that was to me the right rhythm.
Yep, agreed.
All right. We also, by this time, well, it's already up right now, the 997.2 Buyer's Guide. That was a Tech Tactics Live with Nathan Mers.
Yes, and it obviously anything with Nathan we do is always popular. He's very knowledgeable about
It's like a
cars.
Porsche encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is very focused on the second generation of the 997 and the .2s, and we didn't do GT3s or turbos. These were the S, the GTS, the base model, special editions. Diane Sullenberger, Potomac region president, volunteered her car that she tracks, bring to the garage, and it seemed to be a very well received Tech Tactics Live. A lot of talk on the live chat, people asking questions, and we could have Nathan on for 2 hours. And
Oh yeah.
actually, we just listened to an hour and a half video coming out in the near future about the 996 Turbo. We
Yeah,
watched-
hour
we
and a
watched-
half.
Previewed that, and you think an hour and a half, but
If you
took
want to
me
know,
like 2 sittings to watch it, but I watched the whole thing. It was really fascinating.
yeah, if you want to know everything, then we can't cut anything. So
And I think people want to know.
I mean,
those minute details
Sure.
of the different models and what they. Because to the naked eye, it looks like they didn't change anything during the whole run of the 996 turbos, and to a certain point, that's true. But if you want to know what they actually change, Nathan details it. And
It's evergreen material, and I think people will
that's
refer
why
to it.
with the buyer's guides, I know there's some comments saying, "How come you didn't discuss price?" I wanted to hear pricing. We have different shows that we do market updates. But for these kind of shows, we want evergreen. We want people 5 years from now to look at the video, and it's still relevant. It's not relevant if the guy who's talking about the cars is telling you can buy it for $50,000. Those days of 996 turbos were a long time ago. But they will tell you what to look for when you're buying a 996 turbo, because that doesn't change. So just look for the market shows when we'll talk about what's going on with the market and what's going up, what's going down.
Yeah, so speaking of looking for, we wanted to have a 997.2 in the garage while we were filming. Turned out that's not a very easy task. Like, I had to hunt around to find a 997.2.
they're not super
Nathan
common.
explained why, which it made sense when he said it. 08, when the economy collapses because of the housing crisis. So from 08, 09, 10, 11, they were still recovering from the housing crisis. And so Porsche's sales went down, and they didn't sell as many as they did to the prior generation. And what struck home, I remember Nathan was talking about how he turned down the GTS, I think 2011 GTS 997, $30,000 off sticker.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember my brother bought a 2011 S, and he basically went to the dealer and said, it was a black on black manual. So you would think that would be an easy sell. It sat on the dealer floor, and he told him, he said, if you haven't sold this, if you really want to sell it, here's my price.
Yeah.
Give me a call. And I think on December 31st, they called him and said, if you still want it, we'll sell it to you at that price.
Do you think it was because of black on black, or do you think it was because it was a manual?
I don't know. It could have been the economy.
Yeah.
It could have been because the 991 was coming out and people were waiting for that. But yeah, now you look back, you're like, oh my God.
Man, if we took a look back of the cars that we could have bought, there's so many. We should do a show on things that we missed out on.
Oh, we were talking about at the party I went to when I was Steve Postal, the GM for Porsche of Towson, and we were talking about how people's memories tend to fade, or they think that when the 918 came out or the Carrera GT, they were automatic sellouts, and they weren't.
They were not.
They were. They took a lot from 918. Porsche spent a lot of money marketing this car, hiring people to try to sell it to the people who could afford these cars, and they were very nervous they wouldn't be able to sell their production run. And he said, he remembers when he first started, there was a GT3 that sat on their showroom floor for 9 months.
Oh.
That sticker, and he could not sell it. He goes, think about that today. That's laughable today. But back then, he said, they just sat on the floor. They couldn't sell them. So it is a golden era for Porsche. It won't last forever, but at least right now, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So I saw you you drove a 996 Turbo S?
Yeah, that was Scotty's. It seems to be getting a good response. That was the last run of the 996 Turbo. A lot of people think 05, they think of it as 997, which is true. But for the Turbo, Porsche still made the 996 Turbo. They wouldn't come out with a 997 till 07, I think, right?
And what kind of horsepower is in it?
That one was 444.
That's plenty of go.
Yeah.
Yep.
It had the aftermarket shifter. Two things that I maybe had to get used to.
Yeah.
Because in the video I said it must have a short shifter or something because it's very notchy.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced that I have never found a short shifter I liked. That was aftermarket.
Yeah.
Maybe once again, it may take time to get used to it. That and he had a GT3 clutch put in. GT2, I can't remember.
Yeah, it was.
But
GT2
it didn't have the same feel that I'm used to in Porsche clutch. Once again, I'm sure the owner is used to it.
Right.
But just like I always like Porsches because I can get in any Porsche, like everything from Rob's 68 to a brand new one, and the pedal feel is always the same. The travel, there's no getting used to it. Like I've talked about this before, but like my mother-in-law Chevy, I've driven that 100 times. Every time I come out of my cul-de-sac, I hit the brake and my head almost hits the windshield because it's so overboosted every time.
Yeah, so sensitive.
But this, other than getting used to the shifter and the clutch, it was a dream to drive.
How was the suspension? Was it stock or?
I think it.
Pretty sure it was stock.
It was. If anything, it would have been modely.
Because a lot of turbos, I don't know about Turbo S, but a lot of 996 Turbo suspension to me, and I've said this before, it's like that they have a really high ride height and they seem to be a bit floaty.
Scott was asking me should he get it flashed for more power.
Oh.
And I said, me personally, I said 444 horsepower is a lot of power. And
yeah.
I've driven 996 turbos with 700 horsepower, and after a while, you do the quick runs down the road in a straight line.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking on the track, I really think the stock horsepower should be more than.
My concern is when you do stuff like that to create more horsepower. What are you doing in terms of longevity and possibly creating more wear and tear in the car? Like, is it worth it? Is it worth the trade-off? Like, sometimes people don't care. They just want ultimate power. I get it. But man, I keep cars forever, so I want it to last as long as possible.
I think they're misled a lot of times from either manufacturer claims or stuff they read in the media that it doesn't affect longevity, that it's easy, and if it was easy, reliable horsepower, Porsche would do it themselves. That's easy. I hear this a lot with Macans. People say, you can get an easy 100 and some horsepower out of Macan, but
It's pretty common knowledge you can do a light tune on something like a 996 Turbo and it'll be fine. Now, are we talking, will that engine get to 150,000 miles versus 200 before it needs a rebuild? And in that case, maybe it's worth it for certain people.
And one thing is you do the tune, but then how do you drive it, right? Like some people that have a heavy foot, they'll kill a car regardless of what tune it has on it. And then there's other people that just occasionally take advantage of the power and
just remember this when your cat has a modified eye.
Yeah, I know, right? Bionic.
And we're back to the beginning.
Yep.
All right, guys, we are at the top of the hour. Unless you have anything else, I'm just going to thank everyone for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab that VIN, go to PCA.org, and come on board. We'd love to have you as a member. If you don't own a Porsche yet, we have the test drive program, which will help you find your ride of choice. And of course, remember to follow the podcast Instagram page, all the behind scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can also send us an email at podcast@pca.org. And remember to comment on either the YouTube or whatever platform you're listening to the podcast on, and we really appreciate it and help keep us going here. So until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.